I am very delighted today to have Sam Squire at this afternoon session, who is from a charity. He's the CEO of a charity called Inspire to Ignite, which the Fore have been backing now for nearly a year. Inspire to Ignite are on a mission to take on the UK's NEET crisis, which is a growing issue, and address this from the ground up. And much like Sam himself, Inspire to Ignite do things as an organisation a little differently to address this. So they have some really effective programmes. And what they are doing is that they are meeting young people where they are at. So their programs are all about being real and relatable and connecting on a level that matches where the young people are. They then give these youngsters they're working with the tools, the confidence and the connections to reach their potential, to land great jobs and to succeed in areas that they really care about. So it's not just about helping people get any job, it's about helping people get the job that they really want and are going to flourish in. But the bit that's really amazing is that Inspire to Ignite was only founded in 2022. But in just 3 years, Sam and his team have already engaged with more than 7,500 young people. Yes, you heard me right, 7,500 young people. And they've opened doors to apprenticeships, to education opportunities, and they have also inspired and supported a lot of people in supporting and in launching their own businesses. So they are building entrepreneurship alongside employability. And as those of you that know us, as an organisation, this is exactly what the Fore is about. We are about supporting people to make the most of all of the opportunities and the potential. So we're delighted to celebrate Sam today and have the chance to ask him some questions. Sam, thank you. I'd like to just start with getting you to give a bit more of a flavour of what Inspire to Ignite do and why it's so important.
Yeah, so what does Inspire to Ignite do? So our mission is to engage, inspire and activate young people that are not in education, employment or training. Why are we doing this? So staggeringly, nearly 1 million young people aged 16 to 24 are not in education, employment or training in the UK today. To put that into perspective, you can sell out Wembley Stadium over 9 times. And for every 8 young people you walk past in the street, one of them is going to be economically inactive. So it's a huge problem. When we started, it was just over 720,000, which we thought still then was not good enough at all. But then that's just scaled year on year. And our purpose is to ensure that every young person in the UK has access to the opportunities, the networks and the pathways for economic activation, but also civic engagement as well. So actually how they can give back to their communities as well. So that's kind of us in a nutshell. And unfortunately, we see this problem scaling continuously because of the impacts of COVID and the backlog of things, even down to driving lessons and barriers to employment that we can probably come on to later, all the way to, I guess, national insurance increases and how that impacts businesses, and also the implementation of AI and displacement through that. So yeah, happy to have a conversation today with yourself, Mary, and unpack these type of topics.
Yeah, no, it's going to be really interesting to have the chance to ask you, who is on such a day-to-day basis talking to people who are like experiencing the challenges and hearing more about what they say. But before we do that, I'd love for you to, I have had the pleasure of and the honour of being told a bit of your story, but I'd love for you to share, if you're happy to, why you came to being CEO of Inspire to Ignite and how you have experienced some of the stuff and seen how difficult it is when, you end up in a position where you're not in education or employment or training.
Yeah, so my journey from the age of 8, I lived and breathed football, and I dedicated my life to pursuing my dream of becoming a professional footballer. So I missed 20% of my education from the age of 8, and went all in on that mission. I achieved it at age 18, and that same season, 7 days before it was going to finish, I was told, pulled into a room, 5-minute conversation, and literally I was said, "You're not getting another contract." So my whole world flipped, and I didn't have a CV, I didn't have a personal statement, I didn't have any further employment or education opportunities, and I just felt completely lost, afraid, anxious about my future. And that really kick-started something in me that I never wanted a young person to feel the same as I did. And that same week, I was kind of scavenger mindset activated. I was just trying to find any opportunity I could. And I saw someone on Instagram that popped up, and I saw he was helping people in the community. I had no idea how he was doing it or how he was funding it, but I wanted to get in touch with him. So I messaged him on Instagram and said, "Look, mate, this is what's just happened to me." He didn't get back to me straight away because I'm mindful people are busy. But then the following week, I was walking down the high street, and I literally was walking and I saw him in a coffee shop, and I was like, now or never. So I went up to him, I door stopped him on a date, and he was with his fiance at the time. And I said, "Look, this has just happened to me. I see you helping people in the community. I don't know how you do it. But that same week, I became aware of a bursary scheme with the University of Cambridge, and I literally just wrote into it to write a personal statement as an opportunity to do that. And I said, I've seen this opportunity. I want to be a life coach. All I'd known for my whole career was sport coaching. I was like, I want to be a life coach. What do you think?" And he was like, "How old are you?" I was like, 19. He was like, "What have you got to teach anyone about 19 about life?" I was like, "I'm going to prove you wrong." So then I applied for it, ended up getting it, and I genuinely thought it was like a phishing email. And then I became a youth worker, using coaching as a hook through sport. And then 2 years later, after working in a chocolate factory whilst trying to set up my own business, he then gave me a call to say, "Look, I've seen you've been putting in the work. Do you now want to be the coach, the ignition coach and Inspire to Ignite?" And then that's how we kick-started. Our first session was in a 4-meter by probably 2-meter by 2-meter room, with an entrepreneurial program, and it was just me and Alex. And then, like I say, now we've engaged with over 15,000 young people in the last 3 years. So it's been pretty busy. So that's how it happens.
I halved your numbers. I'm really sorry. 15,000 or 7.5. That's amazing. And from your perspective, like, give us some examples of some of your like favorite success stories, and young people that you've worked with and who have turned their lives around.
Yeah. So one of my favorite success stories was one of the first young people in our program, and they were 14, 15 at the time, and they called themselves, have you ever obviously seen Indiana Jones, like Tomb Raiders, that type of stuff? So for those that are movie fanatics, Tomb Raiders, Egyptians or whatever, he called himself the Loft Raider. So he went up to his parents' loft, raided it, sold everything, and they didn't realise it at the time. And he bought a 3D printer, and he was on our entrepreneurial program. He then set up a company called the Cookie Cutter Lads with his brother, and they set up their own page on Etsy, and then it ended up becoming the third biggest cookie cutter company on Etsy. I think first year he done about £45,000 revenue, about 14, 15. And then the new Barbie film came out, and he done a Barbie cookie cutter to kind of hop on the trend, and then Barbie sued him. So he had to shut the Etsy page down. And off the back of that, he was like, well, "Okay, what else can I learn?" And then he began, as AI was kind of in its early adoption, he began just being curious about it, learn new tools, and then now he does AI implementation for businesses, and is involved in some really exciting projects. So that's one of my favourite ones there. And we've also had.
Sorry to interrupt you, but in terms of the support that he got from you guys, where, like, what were you giving him along the way that really helped him to get going, and then not be completely floored by being sued by a global company? Because that must have been fun.
Yeah, I think community is really important. So with Inspire to Ignite, we're not a cliff edge. We're a community. So if someone finishes our program, they're not just gonna like they're never not gonna hear from us, if that makes sense. Like they're part of the community, they can give back. So what helped him on his journey, even like down to writing letters to his school to say that he didn't want to go to university, but he was getting pushed a lot by his school to do so. And we had to write a letter in just to say, look, he's doing this entrepreneurial program. Even and then when he pivoted, having the network within our ecosystem to then be able to connect him with the right people to then give him that guidance and mentorship. That was really important to him. And now he's self-sufficient. He's got his own house. He's 19 now. He's got his own house. He's got a partner, and yeah, he's self-sufficient. So it's kind of us asking him for advice now, really. Whenever I see him, I'm like, okay, what's the new tool? What's this? So it's really cool, that circular wheel of change. I've got so many others. Like we got referred these other two individuals who hadn't had the best start to life, lost a parent, been moved over 14 times, faced homelessness, and through like a referral in the community, came on one of our work experience programs at a property consultancy called Bidwell's, one of our partners. And then went from anything from like kind of building their own estate to go into all these different experiences, raising their aspirations. And we could see they were incredibly entrepreneurial, but also had some real great characteristics. And then through the Young Person Ready portal, the Fore have powered, we were able to partner with Novotel. And then we placed in the first month at Novotel nearly double figures amount of young people into those opportunities. So that then they've both got full-time employment with Novotel, but also on the side, where I'm kind of calling from now is our like podcast studio area. Above this is like a startup studio. So they're going to be interacting with different programming there to develop their own businesses as well. So there's so many. I need to write a book.
Yeah, you really do. So explain a bit more about how you work with businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And also the young person portal, explain about that as well, which we're very proud to have been able to help you get off the ground.
Yeah, it's cool. So to be honest, the first year I remember setting up, like it was really, really difficult to get meetings with businesses because a lot of our positioning was very like entrepreneurial. And then I remember once we got invited by like the Museum of London Archaeology to do like this 3-day experience. And we're like, go for it. And then I was an archaeologist for 3 days. I was like, oh my God, we can actually do industry experiences. It's like that first period of starting a business, you're just tinkering, trying new things and seeing where you can fit in the market. So I would just say for those that are starting projects, or it could be even kind of new spin outs within the organization, just say yes to everything, because that exposure, that experience, those insights are really interesting, because that's where you can start to position yourselves. But it kind of came from that, if I'm honest. And then we realized we could do industry experiences, and we had to make ourselves as present as possible. So like we were literally going to every single business event. And also, like, people hate me on LinkedIn because I'm always just posting. They're like, please, can you stop posting on LinkedIn? Because all I see when I refresh your thing is you. But you've got to be present. And you've got to. Someone told me that like every moment has a story, and like when you build in public, people begin to then just buy into your mission, and they become so kind of, I don't know, like bought into what you're doing, and they can really see the authenticity in it, and not just kind of posting when something's good happens. And I've had it before, like at events where someone hasn't engaged with our content for a year, but then they'll come up to us at an event and said, I've literally watched you on LinkedIn every day. And then they'll come with us with an opportunity, but they've never engaged with a piece of content. So I would also say, like, someone's always watching, and it's just being mindful of that as well. And what we've kind of really got, that what's been positive about our corporate partnerships is having aligned values. So really working and being really intentional about people that you partner with, and making sure your values are aligned, because now we're in a position where 3 years in, and it's taken a lot of energy to be able to attract the right businesses, but that comes again through projecting your values and your mission. But now, as soon as one of our corporate partners signed a 3-year partnership, it almost creates a bit of competition of like, okay, those guys have just done that, so we got to get on this.
Yeah.
So it takes time, but I would just say, yeah, my three key points would be around everything as a story. So share that, share your values and your mission as much as possible, and then kind of I guess rise up and show up as much as you can and be present at events. And that 5 yard rule, everyone in 5 yards should know your mission and your vision, down to Judy at the bus stop to Andrew in the boardroom. Do you know what I mean? So,
and if you had, for example, if there is a business that is maybe even listening in now, but who's thinking, oh, we really want to bring in more young people into the organization. We've got some entry-level roles that, and then there's, you know, potential for progression or whatever, but how might they work with you?
Yeah, so just say that was the scenario. There's a couple of things that we could do. So straight away, like really quick, easy win is our young person report portal, powered by Fore. So they can literally send us over the opportunity, and what we've created with this portal is that it's like a membership. So what they would get is they could post their opportunities, as many opportunities as they want throughout the year. We also collecting data from young people to understand their workplace priorities. So we begin to create reports that we can then share with those partners, so they can be proactive in their approaches and their strategies around how they engage, attract, and retain young talent. So it'd be a pretty simple conversation. It's like, right, we can get you on the Young Person Ready portal. We get those opportunities uploaded. We're a trusted brand by young people, and we've had it even like. We weren't expecting the scale of this either. Like, we're now placing people in Wales, and I'm like, how?
Okay, so yeah, that's a bit further than 5 yards, but hey, that's
I know. So we're now getting those national partners having those conversations. But if just say the organisation has never done this before, and they might want to work with a particular demographic, it could be care leavers, for example. It could be young people from certain ethnic minorities or certain areas. We then provide a bit of a co-design process. So to give you an example, one of our partners, Flowers, they're one of the largest flower distributors in the UK. So all of M&S's flowers come from the site that is about 15 miles away from us. They were launching their apprenticeship scheme this year, and they'd never done it before. So they were like, how on earth do we get young people locally that want to join them in Flowers, where all they see at the moment is just this big white box where flowers are coming and going out. So then we kind of co-designed some activities, and we called it Sim. So we basically extracted the minds of the leadership teams and people in the organisation, and created a simulation activity that we delivered in communities, delivered it in schools, got young people excited about flowers. So we created like a little Lego exercise where you got the farmers, the buyers, and the sellers. And then there's short activities where they've got to build the flowers really quickly to the brief, and they've got to negotiate a budget. So all of those skills that they're doing will apply to the apprenticeship. And we were then able to educate them after the activity. And then off the back of that, they'll go on to like an immersion day. So young people we were doing like hot air balloon activities where they had to pitch themselves. They were a celebrity and they had to pitch themselves where they should stay on there. We kind of threw them under the bus a little bit and gave them a 15-minute window to create a 3-minute pitch and pitch the leadership teams. There was all sorts of stuff. And then off the back of that, the top talent from there then went on to their apprenticeship team. So that's a lot more of a bespoke kind of offering that we do. But those are some kind of examples of like, right, entry point, Young Person Ready portal. But if you want to then go on that co-design process, we can do that. But all of the apprentices that came through that program then actually came through on the Young Person Ready portal as well. So it's been really, really valuable for us.
Because as an organisation, you're a social enterprise, you're a KIC, you're not a charity. What's the income split of how much of what you're raising is revenue from earned income streams and corporate partnerships, and then how much is grant funding? Because that's, I think, something people are interested in if we have other social entrepreneurs on the call.
Yeah, so when we first launched, we were actually European social funded. So we had this is as we were kind of transitioning out of the EU, and that was literally that was all our funding basically. It was a pretty big risk. That obviously changed. We pivoted, and that's where when I spoke to you about that industry experience aspect of things, that's where we were like, oh, that's interesting. And then again, we got gifted an ice cream cart by someone, and we were like, right, how can we use this as an asset? So we worked with an alternative education provision where young people are permanently excluded from mainstream education, wouldn't receive work experience, and we're like, right, why don't we create a program where young people build their own ice cream brand over 6 weeks? And call it Curious About Ice Cream, and they have equity and they can they can receive the percentage of the profits. And again, went on that journey, and then literally we deployed them into Amazon, Carter Jonas and Deloitte in Cambridge, and they've done 500 quid in a couple of hours. So, and we were like, and then we got offered a contract a year pilot off the back of it. I was like, oh my God, this is crazy. So that's where it's like trying new things. But now we do a lot of corporate partnership stuff now, and also kind of project work that is connected to grants. So I'd probably say the split is 65% grant, probably 35% corporate social responsibility stuff. But I want to kind of I want to kind of lower the grant stuff as much as I can, but in a sense that it's not mission creep. Like, we're not just saying yes to a grant because it's money, if that makes sense. Because otherwise, there's that quote, isn't it? It's like, if when a plane sets off, if it's 1 degree out of where it's meant to be, it's like ends up in a completely different destination. I think that could be the same with. You think about that in your mind when you're accepting grants. I understand, but I want to be self-sufficient, so that's where we're looking at other models as well to support us on that journey.
Yeah, it's a massive challenge faced by every organisation that takes grants, us included. Is that if somebody wants you to do something that's slightly away from your core mission, like, is it worth it? How will it take you away? Will you be able to get back there? Yeah, it's such a good thing to really keep that in front of focus, basically, because I hadn't heard that analogy about the airplane used in this instance, but it happens so easily in social sector organizations. You end up, without realizing it, miles from where you started in terms of the impact you need to create, because you followed what somebody will fund rather than actually what you want to do.
And we have, and I'm being honest, like being completely transparent, like we actually have had that as well. Like where we'll be like midway through a project and we're like, why did we say yes to this? So I think what we did do actually, and I understand being in that space where people are always going to need your help, and there'll always be something that you need to do. But taking a couple of days out and just having a real strategic session. So now we've got a framework where it's like, okay, if it achieves this, yes or no, and then we end up to the end point, and then that's where we make the final decision. So stuff like that we're implementing. I wish I'd have done that when we first started. If that makes sense. So.
Sam, people spend hundreds of thousands of pounds going to business school to learn to do that. Don't beat yourself up about not having invented that the moment that you started.
I think we've got a good team as well. I think there's that person like hundreds of years ago when they went on that adventure, and he was like, I'm looking for people that are basically willing to work 16 hours a week, 16 hours a day, and go through it every single weather condition possible, and really resilient. And like, he had loads of people reach out. I genuinely think like we're going to be hiring very, very soon, and I'm going to probably do something like that because that is how it is. But people love it. Like, people love being part of it, and you just live and breathe the brand and the mission and the impact. You can't get a better feeling than changing someone's life.
I couldn't agree with that more. Can we like go back a little bit though and talk, because I'm really interested to talk to you more about the problems and why you need to exist, and why you think so many young people, and such increasing numbers of young people, are not in employment and training. Because it's one of the biggest, most current issues that we have as the UK, is that not enough people are finding way into really good jobs and staying in those jobs and enjoying those jobs. And starting with education, I'm really interested to hear what you think is going wrong in schools, and do we need to have a complete rethink of education, or do you think there are things that schools can do that are kind of tweaking the system rather than completely? What's your thought on the education system?
Yeah, I think the way, if you look at it like top level, that schools are assessed and their outcomes will like connect to certain aspects of funding, which is therefore their behaviours will then go towards those outcomes. I do think that needs to be reviewed, and the success of those schools needs to be rethought. And then as a result of that, then we'll assess young people in a new way, which will then be more inclusive. I just think that the way in which the world moves at the moment and how rapidly it evolves, I think we need to have place-based education, like structure to deviate. So, for example, in our area, like I think it's like nearly 45% of employers are in manufacturing. So
sorry, explain to everyone where you are, that you're in.
Yeah, so we're based in Cambridgeshire and Peterborough. Specifically, our hub is like in St Neots. But I don't think, well, I've not even been to a school locally in our area where they're teaching that. That would make complete sense to structure some of the informational and the education around something like that. So I think place-based education is really important. And also,
so basically, can I just throw that back at you? What you mean by that is schools understanding what sort of local jobs there are, and then helping to make sure that the kids coming out of schools have got what those local jobs are going to be looking for when they are interviewing people. I mean, it feels unbelievably straightforwardly obvious, but now you say it, school does that. I don't know any schools that do that.
Yeah, I think the problem you have is that a lot of careers advice has been centralized. And so if me and you if we lived in the same town, but we went to a different secondary school, we would receive the same tick box in regards to careers advice. However, my careers experience could be completely different from yours. So I think that's a big challenge as well, because it's so important. Like if you don't have the awareness or the knowledge, and someone then tells you something, you're gonna think that is the right decision to make. But actually, if your advice is skewed, or you've been sent in the wrong direction, or actually it's not the best experience, then it's going to be a really big one. I think work experience is literally one of the biggest ones as well. Like there was a report conducted, I think, in the 2023-24 academic year, 150,000 young people. Nearly 150,000 young people took part, and only 1.7% of those young people in year 10 received 2 weeks worth of work experience. So work experience isn't mandatory in schools. And there's young people that there was on a recent work experience but just because they were in year 10 and they went to a school that didn't have formal structured work experience, and it was in COVID, all of those three things that were outside of their control meant that they didn't have work experience, and then they were then expected to go into a labour market that's got pretty high demand and thrive. No wonder they don't make that. No wonder they struggle to get into work.
Secondly, your experience of what you're hearing about the social welfare system and the changes that could be made to that to help incentivize work. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, there's a lot of social systems that are broken, like specifically the care system. So there's young people that have naturally just come onto our programs that have been in that system where it's been really, really challenging to support them based on their circumstances because of the system that surrounds them. So there's a young person that we've worked with who third generation of care, was in the care system for 13 years and was living in like a 1 bedroom room, shared toilet, and they were paying nearly £1,200, £300 a rent a month. And if they work 16 hours or more, whereas if they didn't do that, they'd get their universal credit, they'd get their personal independence payment, they'll get their housing benefit. But it's almost when they want to work and that hits, then that hits in. So they can't get out of that system, they can't save, and then there's no motivation to work. There's huge risk of getting involved in cash in hand work, which if you're living in a housing association, probably 9 out of 10 times it will be surrounded by social housing, which again, I'm not, I don't know, I don't want to stigmatize things, but just from my personal experiences, the social housing that surrounds the one that we're near is that they are grooming the people in the care system with food, with safety, with trusted person, but actually then that leads into county lines. And there was a report conducted by the National Crime Association, I think it's in 2014, that identified 7 county lines, and then 2022 it was nearing about 7,000, which is very concerning.
Yeah, one of the other charities that we've backed is something called Escape Line, who are based in Poole in Dorset, and are actively. I've interviewed Lisa, the founder, on one of these at the forefronts about probably a year ago. And yeah, what they are doing is amazing in getting kids out of the county lines. But they said the youngest kids that they've come across so far being groomed was age 6. So
yeah, it's crazy.
It's really crazy. But
because
anyway,
you can't search. I think you can't search under 10. Yeah. So then, we've even had examples where people are paying. They're paying for family heating. They're getting the young people to dress up in certain school uniform. It's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy.
That's really terrifying. Going back to some of the challenges and what you think are like, I'd love to hear and talk a little bit more about the problems with kind of modern recruiting systems that people are using, and how, like all of this is basically just trying to debunk all of these myths around, it's because young people are lazy, that's why they're not working. Like, what are you hearing on the ground about the experiences of people trying to get jobs through these digital platforms that are pretty hellish, I think it's fair to say to use, but well, I'm leading the witness here. How is the experience of the...
So I think we rely way too heavily on like social capital and CVs for access to employment. And say, like I said earlier, there's so many young people that don't come out of the education system with a personal statement or a CV, and I was one of those as well. But also then how to navigate the platform in which you will then find the opportunity. Because there's a lot of businesses now, if you go in and you're actually really proactive and you're confident, you go, here's my CV, can I speak to the manager? You'll actually get turned away because, there's this process in our policy that means that you have to apply online. So then they'll go onto a platform, and I won't name platforms, but where it's really poor user experience. No one gets back to you. No one even acknowledges that they've received the application, let alone tells you when they'll get back to you, or even gets back to you in the first place. And then you're trying to navigate all these opportunities. And for someone that might have special education needs, or is neurodivergent, or doesn't have a supportive family, or might not even be able to access the internet, I mean, we've just got to assume these things. How are they meant to access that opportunity? And also articulate themselves in a way in which they'll increase their chances of doing that. So this is where, with the Young Person Ready platform, powered by Fore, it's not mandatory to have a CV or a personal statement. It's much more curiosity-led and values-led. So what are the values of the business? What are the values and the characteristics of the individual? And how can we match that together? And I think as business leaders, as people in employment, we all need to take responsibility to understand our social capital and put ourselves back in the situation when we were younger, around, okay, how did I feel? What was my network? But how can you give a little slither of your social capital to someone else, and that can build them up.
I'd love you to tell us a little bit more about your kind of virtuous circular model, whereby not only are you giving the people that you're working with all sorts of tools and confidence and employability skills and all of that, but you're also kind of teaching them and showing by example the whole giving back, and just kind of ingraining in everything that you do the fact that, you know, if someone offers you a step up, like, pass that down the line.
Yeah. I've got such a good story. There's a young person that came on one of our first programs, and his mum actually thought he was getting in county lines because he wouldn't speak to her about anything. She saw he was earning lots of money but didn't know how. And then we got to know him a bit more, and he came on. We just took him on as like an apprentice, just to basically solve his mum a problem. Probably the most unemployable person you'll ever meet, like sat in a hammock all day on his laptop, came up, done a bit of coding, went back to like, all right, cool. But we knew he was helping him with his mum. Then found out he was doing about £18,000 like net profit a month, and doing all sorts of different projects. So our brains were blown. And then we then found out during the program he began to volunteer in his local youth group, and we went to the award ceremony that he was at, and the first year he got most likely to set fire to a kitchen during his volunteering, and then we went back the second year, and then he got most volunteered hours. So just that whole transition, and whilst he was still succeeding, I personally think, from my background in football, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if he's really disciplined and he's smashing over here, naturally the byproduct of that, he's then going to do good in other areas. So we always encourage civic engagement, and we've seen it. Even our new partnership manager messaged me on Instagram about 6 months ago, back and forth, came into the hub, volunteered 30 hours a week for about a month to 2 months, and I was like, you've shown to me your values and your dedication. He's now doing a paid internship, and then we'll look at exploring full-time opportunities off the back of that as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's cool.
Yeah, giving back gives back, basically. We've got 100%. A couple of questions here that I've just been able to have a quick look at. That Kate Welch, who doesn't say where you're from, but says that some of the young people who are NEET are still a very long way from being ready for work. How do you find suitable opportunities from supportive employers?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a really good question. I think with our framework, and I'm happy to share a visual representation of this, we have like a framework where it's engage, inspire, ignite, activate. So there are some young people where they're in that engage phase, and they might be in that for a very long time. So there's a young person, we've been engaging with them for 3 years, and they haven't gone into employment. However, because of the systems they're in, they've now transitioned out of that system. They actually found out last week, I got a message saying, I've passed my driving test, which is a huge barrier remover for them. And now we can begin exploring them going into the world of work. But on that journey, they've gone on a work experience, and they then was chatting to someone on the train station, waiting for a train the following week, and they had an increased bit of confidence, and they pitched him, and then they ended up getting work experience at Mitsubishi the next week. So they've been on a different journey of exploration and exposure, whereas there are some young people that can go straight in. So that's where the community aspect of it is so important, and building that ecosystem of opportunities that we can host. So for example, on the Young Person Ready portal, we've got work experiences. We might have one-day events, or we might have full-time, part-time opportunities. So that's where that kind of the mixture of different opportunities that people can just pick off, a little bit like the old school work experience where it's on the wall. I get the Young Person Ready platform is just a digital version, I guess.
Like all of the best ideas are often like updates of the old ideas, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It was useful, that notice board that you'd go in and you'd be like, oh, I'll take the thing off. It looks really interesting. We've got another question from Alice Banfield, who from Wild Purpose Kick, and their programs are designed to increase young adults' life skills and well-being through intergenerational connections. They're running a personal development program in nature this autumn. What's your biggest tip to encourage sign up to the program? It sounds like possibly putting it on the Young Person Ready portal would be a start. I don't know whether.
Yeah, that sounds cool. So intergenerational. So we've done, I think just from our personal experiences, there's one thing that comes to mind is when we had that ice cream cart, we partnered with a care home, and the young people then went into the care home, and as part of the experience, obviously that for their experiences, engaging with different customers, and I think people in a care home, the majority of them are nice and bubbly, whereas you're not just kind of chucking them out on the street and they're going to get like people in the community can have a go at them. So that was a really good opportunity to start that intergenerational aspect. And then off the back of it, you then ended up, when the ice cream was getting served, the stories and, oh, I remember when I had this flavour at this. And then off the back of it, now that's led to some really interesting opportunities, and we've done other events there. So that's been pretty good. So using not just like, I don't know, connecting people when there's a table between them, like what interesting things can you do. So we've got a tool called Curious Conversation Blocks that I can send you a link to as well. It's a medium in which people can connect through. I know some other people use chess and stuff like that. A lot of young people like chess. So identifying also some equity in that for both parties as well. Like what are they actually going to get out of it, and how can that be really clear to them? So yeah, happy to chat about that, and also host your opportunity on the portal as well.
Alice says, thanks, Sam. I've noticed I've noticed the time, and we were supposed to finish 3 minutes ago, but I hope, Sam, you can go on for a little bit longer.
Yeah, that's all good.
And Jonathan from Ashburnham Place in East Sussex doing a nature program, and points out that there's so much push to encourage young people to go into tech and AI careers, but lots want to work outdoors. He's very happy to collaborate. And I'm assuming, Sam, he might be able to also look at your young persons to the portal and have a look at putting things on there. Jonathan, also do look at Young Wilders, another amazing organisation that we've backed, which is about youth. You potentially might be able to do something with them about getting young people giving voluntary time to nature. But Sam, your work at the moment is focused in Cambridge. I know you've got there's sort of nothing's confirmed yet, but you're already having some much wider reach. But talk to us, what's your dream for the next 5 years in terms of where you'd like to go?
Cool. My dream is that we have the same, like the UK has the highest youth employment rate in Europe. At the moment, the Netherlands is the best, it's 3%. That's youth unemployment, so they're smashing it, whereas ours is nearly creeping up to 13%. And there's a huge not known, because there's been cuts within local authorities, which mean people don't track. So there's probably another couple of 100,000 on top of that. So for me, it's like being able to scale through infrastructure like the Young Person Ready portal and other exciting projects we've got going in the background, and scaling this impact. There's clearly some amazing people in this call that know their communities way better than I do, but how can we give you the infrastructure to be able to then connect to young people and then scale the work that you do as well? So that, for me, that's my dream, really. And it goes back every young person having access to the opportunities, the networks and the pathways to achieve what they deem as success.
And Sam, that's fantastic. We'll copy all of the chat, everyone, and make sure Sam gets the chat for those of you who put your contact details in there. But just finally, sort of to build a little bit on what you've just said as your final kind of shout out, is what's your call to action to anyone who's on this call who is wanting to help make sure that we are much more successful and getting every young person, not just the ones with certain qualifications and certain CV kind of points, as it were, into really good jobs.
I think going back to my five-yard rule, we all have we need to believe that we all have agency, and we do. And who's like one young person in your community or in your life that you can have a conversation with over the weekend or next week, and just be curious, ask them how they're feeling, ask them what are their barriers, ask them what their challenge is, and what's one thing that you can do either yourself or something that you're connected to that can take them at least one step towards kind of a better future for themselves. So just going down to that simple grassroots, get involved in your community and just start with one person. Because if 1 million people done that in the UK, we'd probably solve this crisis.
Yeah.
And then the ripple effect of that is like crazy.
Sam, I love that. It's such a doable call to action. It's just have a conversation and listen and then see where you can help. Because yeah, as you say, everybody has agency and everyone can do something. Thank you so much, Sam. It's been absolutely lovely to talk to you again, as ever, and wish you so much continued success with Aspire to Ignite. I can't wait to hear more and watch how, as the young person ready portal is building and succeeding. And yeah, thank you so much for doing everything you're doing. We need you. This country needs you. So.
It takes a nation to raise a child. So
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys, and I'll send my contact details for anyone if they want to follow up, and we can have some further conversations as well.
Brilliant. Thanks everybody for listening in and for all your questions, and have a lovely weekend.